Hey guys, and welcome to today's video where I am joined by, and I said it on the last video, I'm going to say it here again, the one and only Tim Jooste, the CEO of Project O, of Koin Games actually, which is a games dev studio that is developing a really cool TCG called Project O, amongst other things, as we might discover today. And he's back again talking to me today. We've done a part one, which was actually I think it was about 2 months ago. I will link that in the description, and you'll also find that in the top corner, the link to that video. It was a super cool conversation I had with Tim. We basically went through the journey of Tim's career from very honorable kind of ambitions of getting into sort of theology and wanting to help people to then going into tech sales, where he developed and really proved himself to an outstanding level in terms of sales and people development and leadership, to today where he's now leading a Project O. He's leading Koin Games and really trying to make Koin Games almost like the cutting edge, the real leader, not only in Web3 but also in Web2 gaming, traditional gaming, and trying to merge those two together. So welcome back, Tim. How are
Thank you,
you?
Rebecca. Yeah,
And
doing awesome. It's good to be
yeah,
back. Thank you for the warm intro yet again, making me
no
feel
worries.
great on this Tuesday morning. Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm doing awesome. It
Good.
has been like 2 months, and lots
Yeah.
happened. As always in the tech space, you're innovating and changing and pivoting. So yeah,
Yeah.
excited to be back on the show and to chat again, do part two, talk a little bit about collecting IP and everything else that comes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So for those that did miss part one, we spoke a lot, first of all, around, as I say, the journey that Tim's taken in his career. And then we did talk a little bit about Project O, what it's kind of all about, the kind of the ethos and the vision of both the game and also Coin Games. And what we're going to do today, why Tim is back, is we're just going to be diving a bit deeper into the IP, into some of the game economy, and we're going to be talking a bit more, I think, around just the general landscape as well in gaming, in Web3. So it should be really insightful. Tim's very charismatic guy. He did say in the previous episode that he never started out like that. He was quite a quite a insular, reserved type of guy. But the sales journey that he's had really allowed him to almost train that muscle of being able to communicate. And today, he's a very enthusiastic, very charismatic leader, and you're going to see that today on the video, no doubt about it. So, Tim, let's kick things off. On the last part, the part one, we started to touch on the game economy within Project O, but we didn't really dive too deep into it. So let's talk about that today. So the game economy in Project O, what is it? What's it all about, and how does it work?
Yeah, excited to chat. So we're, as you guys know, we're a competitive card game. So if you are kind of new to the genre or you're just listening from an outside perspective, we're in that same ballpark as Hearthstone, the original kind of. They're actually technically not the first digital card game, but the original successful one. And then, now you've got, Magic Arena and Marvel Snap, a recent entry, and then obviously even Pokemon Pocket,
Yeah.
that launched in the last year. And so we fall into that category. And our philosophy to our economy is a mix of traditional TCG economies where you collect cards to play with,
Mm-hmm.
but we see a massive gap in the marketplace to bring back collecting, to make digital collecting great again. And if you look at the physical card game counterparts where this whole genre was, came from and was inspired by, you get to be a player and a collector, and most people are both. We
Mm-hmm.
enjoy building a deck, tweaking that deck over and over and over again, and then really like dialing it in so that you can go compete with your friends or at a tournament and winning. But we equally enjoy amassing, a collection of cards, and whether it's like, chasing a specific card, a rare cosmetic, or like I'm here very close to master setting 151. I've got a handful of cards that I gotta
This is
finish
the
to
prized collection, isn't it, Tim? Your
one
prized
of them,
collection.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And anyway, and so a master set collecting is an integral part of that experience, even into sealed product, like you see up here, with holding on to something that is valuable long term, and just enjoying it for what it is, and hoping whether you. I'm not really one that sells anything, so my wife's like, I'll go and say, hey, all my Pokemon cards have doubled in value in the last 6 months. She's like, you selling any? I'm like, no, why would I do that? Anyway, but it's part of the joy in it, and I think as humans, we love, we're kind of built by God to have like certain innate things that drive us, and I think competition is part of that. Healthy competition, it drives humanity forward. Like we wouldn't be here as a society without competition. There's obviously negative versions of everything good, but like good competition is really healthy.
Yeah.
So we love to compete, and so that's why we're obviously building a competitive game. But humans love to collect. We love to collect things of meaning, things of value, things that are in sets, whatever it is. And so that's very close to us. And so digital card games, they enhance the competitive side of the experience amazingly and made it so that we can play each other anywhere in the world at any time.
Yeah.
But they did it at the expense of the collector side of the equation, or they never included it. They just made collecting a part of a function of the competitive side. You have to collect the cards in order to play with them. And then that's as far as they took it. Now, obviously, some games have slowly said, okay, we'll have a gold version of this card, and that's the better one. And now you can kind of collect that. But it's really just stopped there until Pokemon Pocket. And so our vision was very much along the lines of what Pokemon has now done. We felt this way for years, that collecting deserves to be its own activity in the digital space. And so there should be everything from limited print, like scarcity, where you release only a limited, you can't do this. It's actually a very tricky thing to figure out in a free to play game, but there should be the existence of limited print cases or packs, or, if you look at CSGO, it's actually a great example of limited kind of produced crates. In our world, that's packs, and then limited cards. That would be like limited guns, and then limited skins. That would be like a VFX skin to a card, and so you can kind of mirror the experience. And by making these tweaks, what you give up is kind of the everyone can build the golden gun. Yeah. But what you gain is a collector experience. And, we see from CSGO how successful that's been. And so it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people don't want to pull and hunt and chase, the golden gun. They want to just build it. And so for that type of player, there's other experiences. But we feel that the chase is actually part of what has made this experience so popular for 30 years, and it's going stronger than ever right now. TCGs are on an absolute tear. People are looking at them as a real investment class because of that scarcity. And then it's still just so fun. So it's like, it's the combination of the fun in playing, the fun in collecting, all the way to the speculative side. And we just think it's such a perfect match made in heaven, peanut butter and jelly, or
I
bangers.
don't like peanut butter and jelly, by the way. I love both separately, but I know that's very contentious, that subject.
That's an American thing. So what would it be for you? Is it bangers and mash or something?
Bangers and mash.
Fish and chips, yeah. So, but it's like the combination of those together that it just suits it so well. And so, to be honest, it feels like the most obvious play in the world to me. Like, bring back collecting into digital. It's there for every physical card game out there. And so just bring that over into digital. Yeah. But having now, we're very close to finalizing the entire economic model. We're now in the testing stage, but it's a very tough thing to build, a free-to-play economy with limited scarcity.
Yeah.
That's a crazy undertaking. So anyway, the good news is that like we'll be the first ones to do it and do it well because it's very the challenging part's actually in the execution, not in the idea. But anyway, and so but we think players are going to love it. And so yeah, I would describe our economy as Pokemon physical meets CS:GO.
Yeah.
So just think digital scarcity, rarity, tiers, a wide depth between the rarest thing and the least rare thing, low float populations, unknown populations. There'll be cards that don't even have a 10 in their
Yeah.
grade, because it doesn't exist because no one's pulled that combination yet. So, and then now there's only 500 crates left or packs left to even pull it, and the odds are basically almost none, And so
Yeah.
that creates the foundation for like that thrilling experience. And so, yeah, so I would call us a collector meta game, right? So instead of just a build all the cards, you collect. So it's everything from limited prints to card leveling to card grading, and then into master sets, and that's where we'll eventually, with our partner, the Collector Club, we'll be launching the first digital full service kind of collector ecosystem that gamifies and rewards collectors. But we can get to that in a second after we get done with the internal economy. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, actually, one thing I just want to say is that I love that you just brought up CSGO because my sister just came over to visit me. One of my sisters, she lives over in Slovenia, and her boyfriend is a big Slovenian streamer over there. And so he came over as well. And we were kind of just chilling, in the living room. And I popped out for a second, came back. And then when I came back in, he was watching the streamer who was, actually on CSGO. And I said to Giga, is the name of my sister's boyfriend. I said, what's he doing? And he said, well, he's just opening like $100,000 worth of these crates in CSGO. And I said, well, what's he looking for? Like, why? And he's like, oh, he's looking for this knife. And basically, there's so many people that were on watching him do it. And I said to Giga at the time, I said, this is like a completely separate game, isn't it? Almost for him, where he is not really playing CSGO. He actually is just playing CSGO for the collecting side. And I was just blown away by how not only how popular it was on his stream, but also just how addictive and how much that was driving him. He was really focused on getting that. And he actually said as well, Giga, that when he gets the knife, he doesn't even play with it. He just wants to get like something. So he says he has it. And I was like, wow, collecting is so powerful. It really is. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, yeah. So on that note, we independently were designing our own kind of rarity system, and we were looking at card games for inspiration because you have a digital product. So you start by saying, okay, how do we balance a free to play economy with a collector economy? Well, we've kind of got an idea where we have what we call player packs, and then we'll have collector packs. So think Magic the Gathering. They have like 2 tiers of packs. So you have the, in fact, I've got something for Star Wars Unlimited here. This is a collector pack. Maybe we'll do a live opening.
I'm gonna have to ask you, Tim. Like, if I was living in your house in that room, I don't think I'd ever leave that room because it just seems like a treasure trove of collectibles. Tim's off somewhere.
It is, yeah. So here's like a booster box for the first set of packs from the new Star Wars Unlimited game. It's like Magic the Gathering, basically. It's a very similar game. And then here's like the newer set, but these are collector boosters. So basically, in these packs, they come with rare, like the base cards in here are like the special cards in here, and then essentially you also can pull like very limited cards in here all the way down to serialized cards where there's only 250 of them in the world. Wow. And so that's like the ultimate chase in this. And so You buy these because you want like the I'll just open one, but you want like the full
Oh, you're opening it live? You're opening it here with
yeah,
me.
yeah, let's do it.
Oh, amazing.
So
Imagine if you get a serialized one now. God, that would be
yeah, that'd
absolutely
be
crazy, wouldn't
crazy.
it?
So like the reason you open it or the reason you buy these is like this is a hyperspace version, so it has no
Okay.
border to it. And so like if I opened a regular pack, it would have a border on the card. So you're getting
Okay.
kind of the premium version, and then the base versions like are all hollow. So every single one in here comes as a hollow.
Okay.
And then I'll
That's
just do
cool.
it like
That's
we're
cool
supposed to do
design.
it here.
Yeah, that looks like
Yeah,
good design.
so basically the purpose of paying $15 or whatever for the collector pack is so that you guarantee that you're getting a hollow version. And then it comes with so here's a full here's a hyperspace kind of full art that you can
Nice.
only get in this pack.
Are these good?
Here's
Are these good
another.
pulls, by the way? Are these good
I
cards?
actually don't know.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I'm trying to look at the same time. I just started opening this set here.
Okay.
Let me see if I get a legendary. At the back is where the rare stuff is. So give me one
What would
second.
a
Yeah, okay. So I
legendary
did
look
just
like?
pull a legendary.
Okay.
So that's good
Yep.
there. And then so here's the hyperspace foil. So this is now foil
That's
plus
nice. That's really
borderless.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks good.
And then I pulled a rare, and it's a Kylo. So yeah, so this one's I would say maybe on the rarer side, but anyway, I don't think it was a super rare card. But yeah, so
Makes
another
sense.
hyperspace foil. So the purpose of upgrading, because you can basically buy the player pack from here,
Hmm.
and a pack here will be $5, and then a pack here will be 15. But the
Yeah.
reason you go to the 15 is you want kind of like you want the more premium versions of the cards with the no borders,
Yep.
and then you have the chance at the really rare cards. So we've got a similar kind of structure where we'll have a free to play player pack that you can open, and our goal is to get it where you can actually open one every day. So literally like
Okay.
Pokemon Pocket, you just log in. So if you're a collector or a player,
Yep.
logging in every day gets you that player pack, and out of
I
that
like that.
pack you can start to pull copies of cards, which we use to actually level all the cards. So the player pack
Okay.
is kind of your source of cards to build your deck, your first
Hmm.
deck, but also it's the source of cards that level the premium versions of cards that you can
Okay.
earn and win and pull from collector packs.
Yep.
And yeah, and then once you start pulling cards from the player packs, you level the cards with copies. So we've kind of come up with a digital use case. Like when you pull the same card over and over and over again, you're like, well, what do I do
Yeah,
with
you
all
get
these
the dupes.
copies?
Yeah.
Well,
The
yeah.
dupes. Yeah.
So in our world, you combine them, and that's how the card levels. And as it
Okay.
levels, the card evolves. So it
Yep.
becomes slightly cooler. It breaks frame. It becomes a
Nice.
3D kind of looking card. And then at the end of the journey is
Yep.
where you have the ability to grade the card. And that's going to be like taking your raw card and putting it in a case.
Okay.
And the act of grading, and again, this is slightly subject to change, but we'll just
Hmm.
kind of give you the general sense. The act of grading is going to have like a gotcha moment, a gotcha roll where
Yeah.
you roll a skin for the card, just like
Okay.
CSGO skin. So imagine almost like opening a crate and getting the gun. Once you
Okay.
level the gun, it rolls its skin. So it's like we separated the experience of opening that crate into two. You have the pack opening moment where you pull the rare card,
Hmm.
and then you have the grading moment where you pull the rare skin on the
Okay.
card. And the skin on the card is the VFX layer. So imagine, again, I'll just keep it super simple, but we have like
Hmm.
a lightning effect around the card. And then
Nice.
there's a flame effect, and then there's like a dragon flame effect or something,
Yep.
right? So, and they have tiers of rarity. So you're chasing that really rare combination of
Hmm.
card and
And
skin.
skin. Yeah.
And then like CS:GO, within the skin is another rarity system of 100 points. So when you were watching
Okay.
that streamer go after, he was probably going after the combination of the knife and well, they kind of combine the two, but it's the skin with the knife. So he was pulling, the blue blade or whatever,
Yeah.
the one that has a bunch of blue on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the more blue it is, the closer to, I think in their system, the rarity is actually the closer to zero, the more rare it is. So
Okay.
in ours, it'll probably be similar or reverse. But anyway, bottom line, if he pulls that in the top uh, area, top like category, which is called factory new,
Yeah.
when you pull into factory new, the gun is like, or the knife is like pristine, no scratches, lots of blue, looks beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the rarest one, and that can sell for
Wow.
100K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
compared to
telling
like the
me.
base version that sells for $1,000 or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we're basically we're essentially the card equivalent of that same system. We have the limited crates with the packs. We have the limited skins that you have to roll, and the skins have tiers of rarity.
Hmm.
And then within the skin, there's a quality grade, and that will range up for 100 points, just like CSGO, and would put you, whether your card will grade a 1 or a
Hmm.
10. And obviously, 10s are going to be super rare and super hard to roll, but when you
Yeah.
roll them, they're going to be very prestigious. And so it creates the foundation. It doesn't mean that we're going to suddenly have cards that are worth 100K, but it creates the same foundation. And so what I want to get to on CS:GO that's mind blowing. We heard from a VC that was studying that economy that 80%, roughly 80% of the people who open loot boxes
Yeah.
or crates no longer play the game. They might have once played, but they don't play anymore. So you're exactly right. Collecting has become a game outside of the game.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Pokemon. When you go to a Pokemon convention, how many of those people are active players? Like,
Yeah.
a percentage are for sure, but a large amount of them
Just there
have
for the
never played.
collection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never even, I own, a lot of Pokemon, and I have never played a game once.
Yeah.
So
Do
I'm
you know what?
exactly that customer. Yeah.
Do you know what? I was
And
I was listening back to our first talk, and that part came up in the video, and I burst out laughing again. And I enjoyed it the first time I heard it, and I couldn't believe it the first time I heard it. And then I laughed again when I heard it, where you were like, "I've never played Pokemon." You said I own like $50,000 worth of Pokemon cards. I've
yeah,
never
yeah,
played them at all,
yeah.
and I just think that's great. So, I wanted
Well,
to ask
because
actually.
collecting is its own experience, and
Yeah.
so I'll just wrap up that last piece, but I think that that's missing from digital card games
Mm,
and just like deserves to be brought back. Like you should be able to enjoy it as a player or as a
yeah.
collector or have a bit of both. And I think most people will do both, but
Hmm.
we will definitely I believe we will have a very, like in the years to come, as the game gains traction, we will form a very robust, passionate collector experience and
Yeah.
start to attract CSGO collectors into our experience, as well as Pokemon and One Piece and Magic collectors from physical collecting into the first true digital TCG collector experience. And so, yeah, and then that's the perfect place to include ownership and all
Yeah,
of
well,
those
I was
other
going to
things.
say,
So,
yeah, because that's one of the biggest missions, isn't it? From what I've gathered from Coin Games, is that you want to bring ownership back to the players, which has been missing
yes,
for so long. And so it's also not just collecting, but also being able to say that I've collected it, but I own this. This is mine. Like this is
yeah.
my whole collection. So that's another big part of why you guys are doing what you're doing. So the Collectors Club itself, you mentioned in the on part one, and we've kind of been talking about the game economy. So the Collectors Club, what's the ins and outs of that then? How do you join the Collectors Club, and how do you get to the top of the Collectors Club? How does it all work?
Yeah, so the Collectors Club is it's called the Digital Collector Club. They're a strategic partner of Coin Games. So Coin Games, as we said in the beginning, is a traditional studio. We wouldn't even consider ourselves a Web3 studio, even though we've started and we have Web3 elements outside of the game. The core game itself is completely Web2. It has no wallet connections. It has no blockchain built into the game itself, and it'll always remain that way. We are going after the full scope of Web 2 audience as a Web
Hmm.
2 game. So if you don't want to touch Web 3, you don't ever have to. It's not included in the game at
Yeah.
all. And so we are just Marvel Snap and Hearthstone. However, there is a pathway to ownership via our partners, the Collector Club, the Digital Collector Club. And so we partnered with a company that is basically starting off, we'll build essentially almost like, let's call it, we'll use CSGO as an example, but it's really a traditional Steam marketplace where basically players can trade and buy and sell uh, for like soft currency their items. And so basically it mirrors the CSGO style economy where anyone can start trading out on that site. And then
Okay.
actually other sites, even places that currently sell CSGO stuff or trade marketplaces. And then there's a whole, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a whole loot box, economy that is spawned out of Pokemon cards like Courtyard.io and Boxed,
Yeah.
as well as CSGO. There's hundreds of these sites where they actually repackage CSGO skins in these digital loot boxes, and then you have a chance to roll for that rare gun. So you can literally go after the exact gun you want
Yeah.
that's been repackaged in this box. And so uh, taking inspiration from that system, the Digital Collector Club, their mission is to bring, make digital collecting, take it to the next level. So it's everything, like on that site will be everything from our game, but also CSGO skins, Pokemon cards, and other pieces. And so any collector can come there and have a gamified digital collector experience. And I don't want to kind of spoil all the cool things they're working on because they're pre-launch as well.
Yeah.
But it's essentially gamified collecting. So
Nice.
leaderboards, social elements, collector tournaments, all around digital collectibles, and
Yeah.
but it's even digital to physical or physical to digital. So repackaged Pokemon loot boxes that you can even redeem the physical card to your house. So
Okay.
all of the above. And so yeah, and then we fit right into that digital to digital space alongside CSGO. So people will be there collecting CSGO skins and then our cards as well, with their limited VFX. So they're our partner that brings to life the whole collecting and ownership side. And then there's a self custody kind of ownership side of that, where if you want to take ownership of the item and remove it from that ecosystem and put it in
Okay.
your wallet, you'll be able to do that. And I think
Oh,
to
that's
us,
cool.
that's the right way to involve the ownership story, because right now I think in the UK you guys are, this just happened there, but there was a whole kind of campaign for like stop
Mm.
canceling our games. I can't remember the exact name of it. Did you
No,
did you come
I
across that recently?
I heard about it, but I don't know what that was. I don't know who was kind of organizing it, but I completely
Yeah, I
get it.
mean, my understanding of it is essentially that, and it's been happening all over the place now with this
Mm.
like new subscription kind of model gaming. A lot
Mm.
of these games, you don't even buy the physical copy, but you download the digital copy, and really you don't even own it. You have
Yeah,
access to that game. And if they shut down the servers, the
it's
game
done.
is
It's
gone.
lost.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so everything you paid for, everything you owned is gone. And that's where, for all the people in Web 2 that like don't like, they shun Web 3 games, there are plenty of wrong ways to do it. I'm not a
Mm.
fan of, play to earn, to be honest, and I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of some of these other mechanics. But if you just simply have a great game and then you have a pathway to owning the items in the game so that you
Mm.
don't lose them. That's literally what blockchain offers.
Yeah.
In these games, if the game could be hosted on a, decentralized server, and then the items could remain, and you could import them back into that game because you own them. I feel like every player deserves to own their
Mm.
items, and if the studio can't maintain the game, that the game can keep living on in another form and people can still own their stuff. And so that's what blockchain offers. And so for me, it's not about forcing that on the player. In fact, we think that's the wrong way to do it. It's
Yeah.
it's like let people experience the game they want to, completely free of anything Web3. So that's what we've done. We built a Web2 game, and then we've chosen instead to partner with a company that will help take the ownership further by letting people trade and collect. And then
Yeah.
ultimately, if they want to take the item out of that ecosystem and take it into their wallet
Wallet.
and have that protection that if the game ever, wasn't around, which, we plan to support this game forever. We're
Yeah.
building a forever game. So that's the goal. We want to be a part of this game in 30 years and doing
Nice.
a catch up interview 30 years from today.
Got some questions
But
on that, by the way. We are going to get to that because I want to
we
understand
are.
how you
Yeah. Yeah.
guys are going to have that long-lasting legacy. But yeah, please carry
Yeah.
on.
And so, but anyway, just to wrap that up, we believe that's where ownership matters, in
Mm.
where you don't have to say, stop canceling our games, that we put the power of that ownership over your collectibles into the player's hands. And so, and I think that's a key importance of
Yeah.
bringing digital collecting to life, is like knowing that you can take custody over the item if you want to. And so, we're following really a CSGO model where we're just looking to make even the trading of items available to anybody with very limited knowledge of how to do any of that. We build that whole infrastructure, we facilitate it, and then even other sites who sell CS:GO skins and have loot boxes could actually just as easily offer our cards as well. And one day there's a YouTube video of some streamer opening hundreds of thousands of dollars in
Of
packs in
Project O. Packs,
Project
yeah.
O. And then but
Hopefully
then on
here.
the back end, you can ultimately take those items and take custody over them if you
Yeah.
want to.
I have to
Yeah.
say, it's actually one of the big lures for me of getting into Web3, because when I was a lot younger, I got really into a lot of, we're talking about traditional games here, but Web2 games, where you would buy a lot of in-game items, but they would sit on a server, you didn't own them. And I remember there was one game, I actually can't, in fact, to be fair, it might have been the Elder Scrolls. Do you know the Elder Scrolls TCG? It's not
Yes.
around anymore, but it was
Yes. Yeah.
around years back.
Yep.
And just used to buy, like, you used to have quite a decent monetization model that then got a little bit more aggressive. There was a good free to play side to it as well, but I was really into the game, so I ended up buying more packs and just putting more money into the game. And I ended up putting way more money in the game than I wanted to. And then when the game kind of shut down, I was like, well, that was kind of a waste of money, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Really? I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
had a good time, a good experience,
Right.
but I've got nothing to show for it because they can shut the server down, and then my
Yep.
money's basically gone. So after that kind of experience, Web3 really started to appeal to me a lot more, in the sense that I can buy stuff and own it. And to be fair, not only Web3, but that's also one of the reasons why I still love kind of the Steam marketplace, which we just talked about. Because if I want to go and say own a game, I can go and buy like a game that I might have played 10 years ago, buy it on the Steam marketplace. I own it and I can still play it. It's on my local drive.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I completely love that you guys are really thinking about that you want to put the ownership back, that collectability is a big thing, and that hopefully as time goes on, that whole side of being able to own things and them not being lost on servers, because they're actually yours, and then they can, as you say, potentially live on in future forms. I think that's going to be so big. And we have a question actually for you, which, to be honest, I'm going to ask that now because I feel like that just segues quite nicely into it. The question that I've got, that I had before we got onto this topic, was that, like in our last talk, Tim, you sort of said that you kind of got really intrigued by Web3 because of this. I think it was the Beeple NFTs that really
Hmm.
caught your eye, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that kind of fueled more of the collector side in you, and then kind of served as a bit of an inspiration to co-found and create Coin Games, to then merge both the Web3 and the Web2 side, and to just try and create that nice hybrid where both sides exist in a nice harmony, and you can win in Web2 and also Web3. But what I would like to know is, what challenges do you think the Web3 industry face over the coming years? And in particular, what is the Web3 industry potentially going to need to do to get more of the Web2 market to buy into what Web3 are trying to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I think the challenge right now is that if you ask a player in Web 2,
Mm.
do you own your stuff? They think they do. So like
Yeah.
we're like saying own your stuff, and they're like, I do. So,
Yeah.
and then like when you really look at CS:GO, um, try to make an argument that they don't own it. They do. They have
Yeah.
full, they can move the item in and out of the game. They can trade it on other sites. They can sell it for money.
Yeah.
Really, CSGO, as much as you don't want to admit it from the Web3 side, is the most successful NFT economy ever. And it's just
Yeah.
not NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
they've
Yeah.
had 5 billion in trading. Like they
Yeah.
dominate the world. We actually have a slide in our deck where we talk about the inspiration and we call it the greatest digital economy ever because it is. It's
It
it's
is.
better
Yeah.
than anything in NFTs by a long
Yeah.
shot. And so I think that I said this on the last call, but we have I'm one of those, red pilled believers now that I find it hard to play. And maybe this is part of why I find it hard to invest a lot of time into a Web 2 game now because I
Mm.
don't have ownership. So I'm aware of the fact that this is all for entertainment, which is fine. And I think entertainment is enough of a reason to spend your money and
Yeah.
those things because, it's entertainment and that's what we do. But
Yeah.
I think that, like, as someone who values collecting, I'd rather just collect physical cards because at least I own them and I get to look at them and I have them in
Yeah.
my binder and and I have enjoyment from them long term and I don't feel that it was a waste.
Mm.
Even if they're not like I collect these Star Wars ones and they're not going up in value and they're not they're yeah, I mean they've gone down in value I think, but I still just enjoy it and
Yeah.
then I
You
have
enjoy it.
something that I love Star Wars. So
Yeah.
and so I think that, like, I think for Web3 to evolve and to appeal, if we stay in the mentality of either this game has to pay me money to play, that
Yeah.
game will never go mass market. It just won't. Like
Mm.
we think that people want to do that, but that's like this is not, in my opinion, it's not the evolution of people kind of like to state that like uh, play to earn games are the next evolution of free to play.
Mm.
So it's like we had like buy a game for $50, then buy a game for $3, then microtransactions, then free to play, and then now get paid to play. And that sounds good, but that's a very big shift. It's
Mm.
a shift in the direction of change in motivation to play
Yeah.
from fun to earnings. And
Yes.
while you can have some of that, the average person is not going to change like that. There's going to
Yeah.
be a sector that loves that element, which actually I would argue that the people playing the speculative collecting game in Pokemon are money motivated people. So that's not a
Yeah.
negative in the ecosystem. That happens in Web 2 all the time. Why are
Yeah.
people opening skins in CS:GO? A lot of them are looking to hit that big win and sell the gun for 100 grand or whatever. So like
Yeah.
you can have the speculative crowd as part of a healthy Web 2 ecosystem. It just has to be, that can't be the main reason the product exists. And
Yeah.
so for us, we've taken the approach that we believe is going to work, while there's hundreds of examples that have failed. And that's we're building a game that you purely want to play for fun. And to
Yes.
do that, you have to have a very good game. And I think that's what we've aimed to do. I saw a ranking the other day where, there were about 170 games ranked in Web3. And,
I
we,
saw
we
that.
were number
I saw
two on the
that.
list, which was
Yeah.
exciting to see.
Yeah.
And it's because we've really tried to build a game that's actually truly fun. And we believe we have a game that's good enough to compete with the big boys in Web 2. Like now you have to have more than a good game to compete with them, but like
Mm.
we have the game that can compete. We've got many of the top players from their games who love us and have even told us we like your game more. So
Yeah.
we feel we're onto something there. And I think that's the first thing you have to do. And that's a very hard task. Making a good game is
Yeah.
one of the toughest things in the world. So,
Yeah.
the fact that we've had like 300 to 400 Web3 games that have failed is like not even, the odds are that 3 of them would have done well. And so, we're kind
Mm.
of tracking with that. So anyway, and then, and we're just, we're one of those 3. And then I think you have to focus on what really makes blockchain special, which I think is an ownership story, not an earning story. Earning can come out of ownership. So that's why we've chosen to work with a partner on the Web3 side with the Digital Collector Club, who's going to incentivize and reward ownership,
Yeah.
collecting. So
Collecting.
that's
Yeah.
where we feel it is. It's like instead of playing for money, play for fun, and then collect, and then be rewarded and incentivized to collect, which bootstraps and kicks off a really fun, amazing collector experience that allows it to then become a true just collector experience, even if the rewards weren't there. And so that's our philosophy. And so I think Web3 games to survive, or to, I guess, adapt, is what I would say, is they need to focus on what really matters, which is build something worth owning, which means you've got to make the product awesome and fun and live forever. And I actually saw a post the other day from another founder who said that he said something that I, overall agree with, which is not every genre of game deserves to have ownership. It's really
No.
games, forever games, that deserve to have ownership. Games that are going to last longer than, or certain genres where it just makes sense to own the items. And if the game's going to be around, then having the ability to own it and then trade it, and that's really the idea. And so I think, we basically, when we jumped into Web3 gaming, people, I think the pendulum swung too far, and we were
Yeah.
like, let's earn tokens and let's do this and let's do that and let's explore everything Web3 can do. And there's a group for that. There's people who love that, but that's really your purely on-chain games, and that has
Yeah.
an audience, but that'll always remain somewhat insulated.
Yeah.
But if
Bit
you want to
niche.
go after the web, yeah, if you want to go after the Web 2 audience, you just have to make a great game. It has to
Mm.
be fun. And then I believe the way to integrate Web3 is through ownership. And it can even be a hybrid where it looks more like CSGO and the Steam marketplace. And then there's an on ramp into Web3 for those that want that additional, like we'll call it self custody ownership. Like, I want
Yeah.
to bring this thing and I want to take it out of the ecosystem, and then I can redeposit it or whatever. And so that's how we see it. It's like, don't force it, but allow it to fit in its natural position where it deserves to be. And yeah, and then on the back of an incredible product, which yeah, is what we've endeavored to do,
Super
and
fun.
what I think you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. And I didn't think that I would probably be saying this actually when I first learned about play to earn all those years back. Because when I first learned about play to earn, as I think probably was the initial reaction for most people, you're like, oh my God, like I can earn to play games. That's amazing, right? But the problem, as you rightly pointed out, is that if you kind of have this play to earn mechanic in a game, which you make as the main thing, but then the game isn't necessarily that fun, or it's not got a lot of depth to it, it's not very engaging, it's not just the type of game that has that nice addictiveness, that nice hook to it, then if, for example, the token dries up, if the play to earn kind of starts
Hmm.
to get a little bit weaker, then that person's not going to have as much motivation to play that game anymore, right? And you almost don't want to have that. You almost want to have, well, they want to play the game because the game is just super fun, and then the play to earn just comes along with it, or the earning aspect comes along with it. So what I have to say is that when I first heard about Project O, I wasn't like almost clear on, oh my God, like this isn't play to earn, this is like collect to earn. Okay, interesting, how's that working? But the more that I've heard you talk about it and the more that I've learned about it, I have to say I'm leaning into that model more, because I think it's a great system to reward people of like, hey, if just to play the game, enjoy it, we want you to stick around and play as much as you can and try and get everything you can, and then along the way you can get rewarded by just owning the things that you love playing with. So I think it's a really good system, I have to say.
Yeah, for me, every player will get rewarded as well, because the players will have the advantage in collecting, right?
Hmm.
You're the one ripping packs every day, leveling cards. There'll be tons of exclusive cards only players can get that you can't even get out of a pack. So players will have that advantage. And
Yeah.
then if you want to sit back and just purely collect, you can. And then, yeah, moving any kind of reward system, like the Digital Collector Club, their whole model will be like collector style tournaments. So
Oh,
incentivizing collecting. So basically during like seasonal events. And so imagine, basically get a new Pokemon set drops, and
mhm.
there's like ways to like earn and participate in these tournaments and win prizes, win exclusive collectibles, but also win monetary rewards for
Yeah.
the act of collecting. People already like to collect. You're just kind of like supercharging that motivation.
Yeah.
And it's already aligned with that group of people because they're kind of collecting either for pleasure or for speculative reasons. So it's actually a really good fit. And we assume it's the players who will be doing this, but they're just doing it in a separated environment outside
Yeah.
of just the pure game, and you don't have to. And I think that's the key. We can onboard any streamer can come work with us and say this is a Web 2 game, because
Mm.
it is, because there's no
Yeah.
Web
Yeah.
3 elements in the game itself. Everything is done outside of the game via a partner that we've chosen to work with, and that partner is already going to be working with other brands like Pokemon and CS:GO, and so why not add us to that list?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I can confirm that as well, what Tim just said there for the viewers that are watching, because when I start to play the game as part of the playtest, which I will make a link in the description so that you guys can join the Project O Discord and you can find out all about playtests and how you can participate in them. And I would really recommend that you do because the game is in a really fun, fantastic state already in its early state. What I will say is that when you start playing it, you have no idea at all that there's any kind of Web3 element to it. You don't see it, as Tim said. You're playing a Web2 game. This is a Web2 game, and then the
yeah.
Web3 elements come outside of that, and it's just done so well. So I really like that. Actually, one thing as well, Tim, that you mentioned, which I did want to touch on today, so we might as well talk about that, and then we will zigzag across to the IP because I know you're also keen on giving us the lowdown, some really exciting IP stuff that you guys are working on. But one thing you mentioned there was around, like, say, the collector tournaments, right? And I'm actually quite curious to know how Project O and how Coin Games are looking at Project O as a game in the esports scene because we talked about CS:GO, and even in the last episode, we were talking. I think you even mentioned actually that you would kind of consider Project O to be like the Fortnite of TCGs. Now we know that Fortnite had a really good esports scene. CS:GO, of course, had probably one of the best esports scenes. How are Project O looking at esports for this game? Is it something that you guys want, or is it, something that you think, okay, maybe, but that's not really the core of what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, I love that question. We are very excited about esports. I think we're kind of stepping towards it as humbly as we can because I don't
Mm.
know if anyone can say we're going to be an esports game. I don't know. I
Okay.
kind of sit between two audiences. I've heard people say you can't decide to be an esports game, and then other people are like, you can build towards that and just make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that we're a mobile first title. So again, we're built and designed around the mobile platform initially. So what that means is things like our metagame, our game loops, our session times, everything is built with mobile in mind because that's
Yeah.
really where a lot of the growth and opportunity is. Even in the esports scene, most of the esports are now growing on mobile devices across tier two and tier three geos. And so the rapid growth in even competitive play is all on the phone. And so having a game that just shines on the phone is our first goal. And that's what we'll be launching. We will look to then stabilize that business on the phone because you
Yeah.
monetize and acquire users totally differently on the phone there. We've already found our UA partner with an amazing bespoke TCG UA firm called Uptick. They
Oh, I
have
know
done a
them.
lot of the user acquisition for Magic the Gathering Arena,
Yep.
Hearthstone, and Marvel Snap. They were
Yep.
a huge part of their launch and UA campaign. And so I mean, just geniuses. The founder Warren is a Magic the Gathering pro, so he's a big TCG guy himself. He plays in the World Tour from time to time,
Yeah.
and so
They
he
know what they're doing. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, so they're awesome. So anyway, so we're working with them to do the launch, and that'll come like at kind of middle of next year. We soft launch in December,
Yep.
but we're gonna that's like in just one or two geos, and that's in Web 2, and then we'll have kind of the official call it debut of the collector side, which is really focused on collecting, and then also opens up the Web3 elements for Web3 kind of end of Q1, early Q2 of next year.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and so basically, the esports scene, we're going to get mobile going and launched. We think we'll actually start to see already tournaments and all that. I mean, we've been having tournaments. The last tournament, we have another one coming up, I think, in a few days.
Yeah, it's this
You should
weekend.
forgive me. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's on
When?
Saturday, the 26th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, our last tournament, we had like 200 people. We had only at the time had about 1,000 people play the game, and 200 showed back up for the tournament. And the
Wow.
winner had never played the game before and didn't even own a wallet. He was a
Oh,
Magic
wow.
the Gathering pro. Yeah,
Wow.
and so we're appealing to a much larger crowd already outside of just the core audience in Web3.
Mm.
And then so yeah, so we're already, we've done multiple tournaments, and that'll be a continual thing. Like, we're very passionate about that. Our goal will be then to launch the PC optimized build once the mobile build is stabilized, and that'll be like, either end of 26 or early 27.
Okay.
And with that, we would aim to launch to time it with the first kind of kickoff of a true esports scene,
Ooh, nice.
on the back of the game proving that it can do that. But
Yeah.
we don't see any reason why not, right? Hearthstone had and has, had success in that area. Even Marvel Snap has some bit of
Yes.
a competitive scene, though they're kind of really lean more into the casual audience.
Hmm.
We are like a competitive version of Marvel Snap, as you know, and
Yes.
so we're simpler. Our level of depth is actually, I think, on par with Hearthstone, but it doesn't feel that way when you get in the smaller deck sizes, and then we double the deck and all those elements. And so we are cautiously optimistic that we might have one of the most or the most esportsable digital card game ever made because of the simultaneous turns, the fast pace, the epic finishes. It's just a
Yes.
product that just does so well from the player perspective, but also the streaming, which is what also is the other ingredient you have to have. If your game
Yeah.
is not watchable, it's very hard to have an esports scene. And
Yeah.
so because it's the two together, right? It's
Yeah.
the audience and the competitors. And so we're killing it with the competitors. I know that. Like, you guys, well, I don't think we've officially announced this either, but we formed like a player council. It
Okay.
might be
Yeah.
going out now. I know I heard in the background that we were like announcing this, but anyway, there's a video coming out soon talking about our player council, and this video will probably release after that anyway. And so, but we've already got like 30 pro level players like in our council that play with us on a monthly basis, and give us direct feedback. So we're 100% in on the esports scene. It's just more, does the game warrant that? And we think so, but again, we're over here drinking the Kool-Aid, so don't trust us yet. See for yourself. But yeah, I could see us having, because of the game, because of the nature of the experience, and then if the collector side takes off,
Mm.
you have the makings of the same exact ingredients as CS:GO,
Yeah.
and I think that would make, and plus you add to that the fast-paced gameplay, 7 to 9 minute matches, simultaneous
Hmm.
turns, really
Hmm.
fun to watch, fun to stream. Yeah, if I had to make a prediction, we will have the best esports scene of any
Wow.
TCG.
There you
Yeah.
go. You heard it here first, guys. Big statement from Tim. But also, I have to say, I completely agree. I feel like Project O at the moment, from what I've played and seen, just ticks so many boxes that make it a very esportsable, esports marketable type of game. And I'm actually really happy to hear that because, like, when you guys start playing Project O, if you've not played it already, you will think on the surface that it's a very simple game. But then when you play it more and more, you realize how many layers and depths there are to it. And there's so many little intricacies that make it such a fun, very challenging game to master. So like an easy game to pick up, but a hard game to master,
Yeah.
isn't that right? Yeah. And I
I
think
had
that
a
always
we
makes a
we
good
had a
esport.
I saw a message from one of our council members. He's a pro player,
Mm.
who put in the chat to this morning. He's like, "Hey guys, at the end there of the session, the play session, I rolled into a bot," and he said,
Okay.
"And I got beat
You
so
got beat.
badly."
He
He
got beat
said,
by the
"I
bot.
didn't know you had." He joked and said, "I didn't know you had God himself playing the game." And so that just shows you, like, he's a good player, but it shows you
Yeah,
the level of depth when, because we have a bot that we have an amazing engineer
yeah.
that is just a savant. And the
Okay.
first version of the bot he made, we couldn't beat it. Like nobody could beat it. It actually had some moves that were like insane. There was a move that it figured out that none of us even
Which
thought
we
of,
knew. Yeah.
where it I think it destroyed its own barrier to win the game by
What?
like
No
we thought
way.
it messed up, but there was a combination of the cards he had and the location, which we had never thought of that combo. None of the designers had thought of the combo. And
No,
then the
no.
designer thought the bot glitched, but it turned out the bot was winning by destroying its own barrier. Anyway, all that to
Bot
say
was on
that
another level.
yeah, we have a genius bot, and then what we did is we toned it way down, and so we have it like run the simulation and then choose the suboptimal something. I don't know. I mean, there's a few ways we're doing it now where we're toning it down, but all that to say, the game is very deep, and I think once
Yeah.
people get into it, they really see that. But the beauty of it for guys like me that are not native to TCGs, but I love competitive games,
Mm.
and I grew up on
World of Warcraft, right?
Call of Duty and World of Warcraft
Yeah.
PvP and Halo, and just every game I fell in love with was a competitive game, with the exception of, I would say, the Elder Scrolls series. I love that too.
Yeah,
But
that's amazing.
yeah, but so I love the social element of competing. Brawl Stars even was a good version, but
Oh,
as I've
okay.
gotten older, my ability to compete on a console for hours has just gone away.
That's
So
what it
now
is.
if I'm
Yeah.
going to compete, it's got to be in 10 minutes. It's got to be on my phone while
Right.
while I'm sitting next to my kids. And so card games, I'm not a card game guy, but the card games have become like, man, this is so cool because
Mm.
I can compete. I can experience. I can learn how to compete in this game. It's a bit more of a thinker's game than a fast fingers game,
Yeah.
but it still offers that competitive element, that feeling when you win that you beat somebody else and you were better. And then it's got the RNG, which is good to have a little bit of that. And then on the back of it, it's got this whole rewarding ownership collector story. And so I was telling my co-founder the other day, I'm like, it dawned on me, if I could design selfishly the
Yeah.
perfect game experience to build, it would be this game. What is, and now that's not where we started. We were building a
No.
different game. We didn't have collecting, none of that. It's all kind of formed
Yeah.
organically as a good product and a good vision. But it's literally this game. It's the competitive element, it's the social element, it's the quick sessions, it's optimized for the phone. And then there's the deep collector experience, the
Yeah.
chase of one of ones, and then the fact that I can own it and trade it outside the game. And so I was just laughing. I was like, it'll look like, if I wrote down a list of everything I want in a game, it's literally this game. And it looks like we just like selfishly built exactly what we wanted, but it also happens to be what a lot of other people want. So anyway, yeah, I'm really excited. I think we're on to something really cool. And
Big time.
once
Yeah.
people see it, they're gonna love it. Yeah.
You absolutely are, and I love your enthusiasm. The fact that you just said there that you you've basically built a game which is almost like the perfect game for you. I almost
Yeah.
expect to see you competing in the first esports tournament, Tim. You know, like
Yeah.
see if you
Yeah.
can
That'll be the goal. We'll see.
with the
We'll
bot that
see.
ends up winning it.
I'm
Yeah.
a I'm a bit of a tryhard where I want to be good, but I'm not that good. So I fall into that category where it's not casual, but yeah.
Yeah.
I hit infinite a few times in Marvel Snap, but I don't.
That's
Yeah.
an
Anyway, we'll
achievement.
see. We'll
Put
see.
that on the CV. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One thing I actually want to ask as well, because we have been talking a little bit about, we've made a couple of references to how you want Coin Games and you want Project O, of course, to be around for years, next 30 years or so. How is that going to happen? Like, I think what a lot of people would like to know, myself included, is that the gaming industry, as we know, is super competitive, but it's also getting more and more lucrative, right? And in Web3 gaming, in particular, we see a lot of games projects that come and then they have this big hype, this big early promise, and then they kind of go, they get shut down. Today, for example, there was a game that had huge potential. It launched 2 months ago. There was so much hype around it, and out of the blue, it shut down. So I personally would like to understand, and I think probably some of the viewers would like to understand around how is, for example, Coin Games funded? Does Project O need to be profitable from day one in order for it to survive the long run? Like, how are you guys going to have that staying power financially to keep the game going?
Yeah, I think the first piece there is that first piece there. Looks like breakfast is coming in
Oh, nice.
live
Breakfast
on
delivery.
camera.
Can I have a little bit of your sauce?
No,
Just
no, no, no. Hey, Daddy's live on TV right now.
Hello.
Love you. Close the door, please.
We had a special guest appearance. Nice.
The joys of parenting and homeschooling your children. That's Judah for everyone that wanted to know. So, yeah, and so, yeah, so the longevity of the game, or us getting the market and succeeding, we're fortunate that I came from a really successful career in tech, and so it put me in a position to not only build and know how to build because I've done it before, but also have the ability to be a part of funding it myself. And so myself, along with actually pretty much just my personal network, were the initial funders in the early seed round. So we've actually taken on no really outside capital from the Web3 space at all as of today. Now we are moving towards, we're doing a small additional round of funding actually as we speak, privately again. And then we will have a moment likely where we open up to the Web3 audience the ability to come in on, on the, into the project. That'll be somewhere around launch, prior to launch. And then as we gain traction as a game, we will have normal equity raises similar to Second Dinner and every other successful Web 2 studio out there. Okay. The market is interesting. So right now you have like the post-COVID kind of gaming environment. So COVID brought in tons of additional revenue into gaming, and I think people hoped it would stay, but it didn't. And so what happened is games made crazy money, and everyone started launching projects, both in Web 2 and Web 3, and growing, and let's launch games. Some of those games hit, but they hit into a softer market, and the revenue actually was not there. So while there's a lot of money in gaming and it's growing in gaming, it's harder than ever to kind of like succeed. And have like that forever game. What's actually happening now is there's a bit of a recession, a pullback happening in game development. Not what's happening in Web 3 is happening in Web 2. There are studios shutting down daily in both. So that's not a Web 3 phenomenon. We're in our little bubble of feeling like GameFi is dying, but really it's all games are just bad games, and games that are even decent games are just dying all over the place. Wow. Yeah. I think though that that's exciting for projects like ours, because we're not just another flavor of a cozy MMO or whatever. Like, okay, there's a bunch of these, and how are you going to differentiate yourself? We are going into a market where there's a lot of older incumbents or established studios, and then there's some really one new player, and we're launching kind of on the new platform, if you would. Like, if you really think about it, mobile TCGs are not new. No. But mobile native TCGs are new. And so while you could say Hearthstone has a mobile game, it's a PC game on a mobile platform. Yeah. It is not natively built from the ground up with mobile principles in mind. That's everything from session lengths to how fast you feel dopamine when you play, And so like all of it is built around the PC. And until Snap, there was not a mobile native game. Now, other genres were way ahead. MOBAs already had top tier MOBAs that were built natively for the mobile phone, and shooters had top tier shooters. The mid-core genre on mobile has been growing steadily the last number of years, five plus years. and they dominate the top 200 and especially the top 20, 30, and they have a lot more staying power. Like you might see new casual games hitting the top 25, but the mobile games that do well, the mid-core ones, they kind of stay.
Yeah.
So if you are lucky enough to have a successful mid-core mobile hit, you're in for 5, 7, 10 years potentially. And then if you add to that card games are one of the toughest businesses to succeed in, but they once you succeed,
Mm.
you have a forever game.
You're
And
in. Yeah.
so we are kind of aiming at that thing where it's like if we win and succeed, we will be here. I mean, that's just the case. Now, it's not forever. Games like Elder Scrolls, whatever, shut down. But I think we have the ability with a competitive scene and with the collecting side to have much more stickability than 90% of the card games out there. And so then the question is just like when you play our game, are we different enough? Do we have a reason for people to leave our competitors and come in and do we have a reason for new people to come in? And our argument is a resounding yes. We offer the only truly competitive experience on the mobile platform. And we offer a fresh, faster paced competitive experience to the PC gamer once that launches. And then on the back of that, we offer an unparalleled collector experience
Mm-hmm.
that offers true ownership and a CSGO style trading economy. So
Yeah.
that is a unique proposition that no card game is currently offering in the market and that we can offer. And, again, I'm definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think
Yeah.
that's the makings of the next great card game. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so when you add all that up, and so what I would say is, and then we're going to be launching into a starved market for fresh content because it's happening in movies, it's happening all over the place. No one's taking risks.
No.
So what happens is they're all just doing a copy of a copy of a copy. And so when
Yeah.
you're not a copy and you are good, you can actually have another Fortnite moment where you're
Yeah.
different from every other shooter and you launch into a market starved for
That
something
freshness.
fresh and new, and you
Yeah.
actually can take giant market share that you could never take in a crowded market where everyone's winning. So we, though it's not the easiest journey, and we're at navigating like everybody else how to make sure we're funded and we can get to market. We feel very, very confident. And, again, for what it's worth, I'm new to gaming, right? This is my first game studio that I've led. I'm not new to tech. I've been in tech for 15 years. But my co-founders, Mike, Brian, and Kevin, have all been in gaming 25 years each plus, and collectively they've shipped over 70 games in their careers. So really longevity in producing and getting a game to market. And some of those games have had massive success,
Oh, yeah.
millions of daily players, hundreds of millions in revenue. And so we know how to do that. And all of them have independently told me, Tim, I've never worked on a game this good this early.
Wow. Wow.
And
Really?
in fact, one of them the other day told me, at this point, Tim, I'm as confident as you can be pre-release that we have the next hit game. He said our chances of success or our ability to succeed are not going to be based on the core game itself. The game is going to do well. It's the other factors that go into it, and so, yeah, I mean, you can only be so confident this early, but we're feeling really good about what we built and about our chances to win in the market. And I won't go into much detail about the other reasons, but there's some reasons to be very bullish about our chances outside of the US where other games have not succeeded. So there's actually a lot of open market for us to go into as a mobile competitive game that is currently not even occupied by anyone. So it's not even like we're actually up against someone else. It's our game to win or lose, but just hitting the mark with the user, and then the game can grow in certain areas. And so, yeah, we're gearing up to win. We're gearing up
Yeah.
for
You're
war,
gearing
and
up
we're
to
gearing up
win.
to win.
And
Yeah.
you're gearing up for the long run. You feel like you've got everything
Yeah.
you need there and everything equipped to be able to do the long run, which
Yeah.
sounds absolutely amazing. We have talked a little bit. We talked quite a bit actually about collecting and the importance in this game of collecting and why it's going to be such a big appeal to people that love collecting. One of the things about collecting is that you need to have, of course, like a really good IP as well, so that people really love the thing
Yeah.
that they're going to be collecting. Like you said, you love collecting Star Wars, right? Because you're massively
Yeah.
into Star Wars. And so we should probably talk a little bit about the IP because for anyone that doesn't know, Project O's IP is really interesting and I think quite unique because they've taken a lot of characters that you might be familiar with, that you probably are familiar with from your childhood. So characters like Winnie the Pooh, characters like the Mad Hatter. You've got Moby Dick. You know, like you've got characters from different fairy tales, different stories, but are very much in the public domain. And they're putting a twist on them. So let's talk a little bit about the IP. Like, what are the plans for the game to build out that IP, build the universe, and why is this IP going to be so successful in the hearts of people that love lore and love collecting?
Yeah, it's a great way to finish. So I think that like, yeah, when we decided to pivot the teamfight tactics style auto battler to a card game, the first major question was how do we compete with IP games? And we honestly considered and we're starting to get ready to explore just licensing an IP. And our first target was actually going to be Star Wars with Disney.
Was it?
And yeah, because I love Star Wars, and no one's really built a great digital Star Wars trading card game.
They haven't.
And in
No.
fact, I can tell you that we actually just showed one of the lead designers for Lorcana our game, and he said, "Why didn't you come to us and build the digital version of Disney Lorcana? You could have had this whole IP." And he loved our game. He's like, "It's excellent," you know. And so so we could have done that. We could have likely got the license to that and built that with our team's background. But we really felt that in the end, you're getting your initial success from the IP, and then the game obviously has to be good. Like DC launched a card game alongside Marvel Snap. Nobody even knows about it because the game was really bad. So like an IP is not enough, but it gets you going. And that's really where it helps you. But in the long run, if you're successful because of the game, not because of the IP. And so the IP is like the kickstart and the thing that adds joy to the game. It's a multiplier. It's fuel on the fire, right? Is really what IP does. And so when you look at that, you realize that the game is really the thing that's going to make the game, and the quality of the game is going to make the game successful, not the IP in the long run. And then the IP acts as that multiplier. And so we would rather, since the onus is really on us to make a great game, we'd rather see if we can do it with our own IP. And then when the game is successful, we now have an IP that we own that also now has some longevity. And you can build from that IP. I mean, look at League of Legends, look at what they've done with their IP. Once it's established as an IP, now they've got the IP is really worth more than just the game. And so it's like if I'm in this and I left millions of dollars a year to go build this, I'm not building to just have a one-hit wonder successful game that makes some money. I want to build an empire. And so
A legacy.
yeah, and so that led us down the road of like, can we come up with an IP that has nostalgia built into it? That was really the goal. And so we looked at a bunch of weird ideas. I won't even go through them, but anyway. And then one day,
surely you can't tease us like that, Tim. Surely.
yeah. I mean, we were like, okay, what has nostalgia or like instant recognizability? So we even considered. I mean, this is such a stupid idea, but we considered like zombies. And because zombies are recognizable as a category. And then what if you had zombies that represented famous people and famous ideas? So like a zombie version of everything iconic. And those are your characters. It's not a bad idea for
Like
a game.
zombie Elvis or something.
Yeah, that's right. So like take every character that's famous and make him a zombie, and then like that's like, you know, and you can kind of work under inspiration law and all that, and then you have like some weird collectibility there, you know. And so like it's not bad. It's not great either, but yeah. And so
spitballing, it's a good place to spitball, isn't it? You know.
And so, but then that led us down the road, and then one of the guys came up and said, you know, what about public domain characters? And I'm like, well, who's on there? And when I looked at the list, I'm like, wait, these are like super famous characters. Yeah. What do you mean these are public domain? And so then we did our research and kind of understood where the landmines were and what the legal use is. And, you know, basically a public domain character is free to use. You just have to stay clear of how it's been used by somebody else. And so, you know, you look now, there's a Netflix show that just launched called The Seven Bears. It's an animated series, and they've got Cinderella and Snow White and Jasmine and
Okay.
Rapunzel, and I mean
Yeah.
all the Disney characters in there. And it's not a Disney thing; it's on Netflix. Netflix owns
Wow.
it, and so
Okay.
you can use any of these characters. You just have to use them in an original form. And so we were like, okay, that was the first premise. But then one day I was thinking about this and I was like, how do we do this in a more interesting way?
Mm.
And that's when the idea came to me to build a new world where every myth and legend originate from. So this lore isn't really known in the game, but this will be what we expand on in other media,
Hmm.
where this is an original world called the World of Origins, and it's
Okay.
where every myth and legend originated from. It's the true
Nice.
or telling the true origin stories of the myths and legends. And so, as it goes, there was a. I'll give you the loose version to
Yeah. Go
not give
on.
any
Sure.
spoilers, but
Yeah.
the portal connected our world and this world, and when Earth needed heroes at its worst moment, these heroes appeared and came into our world, and they helped fight back evil and advance
Right.
society and bring education and medicine and this and that and whatever. And many of these heroes that Sherlock and
Robin
Winnie
Hood.
and Robin Hood and just many others that kind of came through, and Earth interacted with them, and they lived amongst them for unknown amount of time, and then an event happened, and all of a sudden, in an instant, the worlds were separated. And we'll even claim that some myths and legends got caught here on this side of the portal. So
Sure. Nice.
Bigfoot and Nessie and a few other the
Yeah.
cryptides. And then Bigfoot's family is waiting back for him in Origins, and he's the runt in the family. He's the smallest one, and anyway, and so all of these worlds separated, and so their world has modernized in this whole time. Our world has modernized too, and we've ceased to believe they're real. We now
Yeah.
call them fairy tales, myths, legends, nursery rhymes, bedtime stories. But in fact, every one of these characters is real
Is
and
real.
alive and an immortal being that lives in this magic
Right.
meets tech world
Yeah.
as it's modernized. So it's their magical world, but now there's a bunch of technology. And so that's the world that players are being introduced to. So when they meet these characters, they've actually always been in the same world. We just kind of in our own heads turn them into individual stories. And
Yeah.
so it's a really cool premise because it's an original story. We're completely rewriting most of the backstories with hints to who we know them as, but they're completely new. So again, like our Winnie dash the dash Pooh, which is the official version, is inspired not by Disney's version, but by the original works.
Wow.
And but it's our own take, which is totally different. He's a cage fighting champion bear. That's why he's huge and has
Yeah.
giant gloves on his hands. And so every character gets a new treatment visually and inspired by our art style and our world, this modern magic meets tech.
Hmm.
So they're completely original characters in look and feel, and in their backstories, they're original. And even most of them are named something different, just that's similar. And so so it's a completely new world. And so we're introducing you to the real Cinderella and the real Red Riding Hood and the real Robin and the real Moby Dick and the real, and many
The real
characters
Robin.
that you've never heard before and seen before that are in public domain. And yeah, and so it's a really cool cast of characters, and I think it has a lot of potential to go way beyond games, to be honest. And
Yeah.
so we've already, there's nothing. I don't want to do the hype thing
There
that
we go.
Web3 does, but like
No.
there's nothing in the works yet officially, but
Hmm.
we're in talks with multiple groups that love the IP, and so we're exploring, writing a pilot episode. We've already got kind of the first season drafted and an
Nice.
initial like pilot kind of in the works that'll be
Wow.
done in the next few weeks. And then, I'm meeting with an IP development company that specializes in toys and merch. They've worked with a lot of other video game studios that I'm meeting
Okay.
with next week. And so, yeah, so we'll see where it goes. But I think, I think there's a high chance we see the world of Origins come to
Mhm.
life outside of the game. So, yeah.
Amazing. And would that also include in this world of origins that you're kind of creating? Would that also mean that eventually the characters that you would have in the game and in this world would not be exclusively just public domain characters? You would then start to create your own characters as well within that? or would it all just be always public domain?
Well, yeah. So what's interesting is we are staying with the public domain list. We
Mm.
have considered original characters that we would say, like, imagine you have like Winnie the Pooh's cousin, and he's a
Yeah.
different type of bear. We
Yeah.
can write originals. We are considering that. There's enough in the public domain to go forever, kind of.
Okay.
To be honest, there's a lot there. You just get into the obscure characters, but our designers and creators are so good at making these characters awesome that, like, some
Hmm.
of my favorite characters and cards and character backstories are not the popular ones anymore. They're like
Okay.
obscure characters I didn't
Oh,
even
I
know
like that.
existed.
Yeah, I like that.
So I would say that we have a lot there. But yeah, so I mean, the way it works legally is we're building our own original story. We're just using those public domain as inspiration. So this is a completely new universe, new world,
Hmm.
using those characters as inspiration as part of it. So we're really building almost like our own version of a Marvel cinematic universe with tons of
Wow.
characters, tons of backstories, all of that. I mean, already in the game at launch, we'll have 150 characters. So you've got
Really?
150
Wow.
150 characters that will have completely original look and feel and backstory all written for them. And then
Wow.
that's just endless content when it comes to what we could do outside of the game. So yeah.
And in terms of the original set of cards, how many are you planning on releasing for the original set? Do you have an idea on a number on that?
It's around 175 for the original
Okay.
set on day one. Yeah.
Nice.
That's spell
Wow.
cards, commander cards, and minion cards.
And the minion cards as well. Amazing.
Mhm.
There's so much we've talked about here. I feel like we could talk for more hours, but I know that Tim's a super busy guy. So we're going to maybe just ask one more quick question, and then we will
Yeah, go
let
for it.
Tim go create more magic behind the scenes for Project O, which we're all waiting for. Um, in terms of like Coin Games itself, Tim, of course, we've been speaking about Project O, we've been speaking about Coin Games. We're talking about a game here that is still in its inception. It's not even been released yet. Of course, it's like in a playtest, but there's always so much to be enjoying about it. What is Coin Games going to be known for? Is it going to be the game dev studio that just develops, say, TCGs? Are there more genres that you would be looking to get into? You talked about World of Warcraft. You used to love playing that when you was young.
Mhm.
Could you ever imagine building a kind of a World of Warcraft that encompasses some sort of Web3 element
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it?
yeah.
And we talked about CS:GO as well. Could you ever imagine Coin Games developing that type of game as well? I just want to try and understand a bit more about the
Where we
identity of
go
the
from here,
studio
yeah.
and yeah, how you're
So,
known for.
yeah, so I mean, what we'll be first known for, in my opinion, is bringing digital collecting to life on the back of a super competitive digital TCG. I think that's the
Okay.
first claim to fame will be that. It'll be
Hmm.
essentially the same legacy of what CS:GO did for the shooter genre with their collectible experience,
Hmm.
but in digital TCGs
Okay.
on the mobile phones. I think that'll be the first one, and I believe that product can and will run like forever, basically.
Forever.
And
Yeah.
then on the back of that, we have two kind of thoughts, very
Okay.
different from each other. The one would be that as the IP gains in success, the IP becomes the strongest force, and we're able to then expand to new games around
Yeah.
the IP. And
Okay.
at that point, we would likely stick within strategic competitive games, but that leans towards things like MOBAs and even auto battlers again, using the same cast of characters. I don't know if it ever goes to a MOBA, to be honest. I mean, sorry, a MMO, but that would be a dream. But I just don't
Yeah, it'd be
know.
amazing.
We'd have to build a whole new team to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the other direction is actually kind of more in line with what Fortnite has done with enabling creating your own games. And so we're really passionate about the creator economy long term and empowering creators to build their own content. And
Okay.
so in games, and we believe that frontier is only going to grow with Roblox, the success of Roblox and Fortnite and games like that. And so we are we can see a future where there's a card creator engine,
Oh,
and that
wow.
would be its own endeavor outside of the IP. And so yeah, so that's what I would say is either more IP future driven or
Hmm.
more creator future driven,
Well,
or
both is,
maybe both. But
yeah, I was going to
it'd take a
say,
lot to do both.
Yeah, I was gonna say both would be an absolute dream, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Because being able to
it
branch
would
out the
be.
IP to different games and then also develop a kind of a car creation engine, incredible. So
Yeah.
much to be excited for then for Project O and also for Coin Games. I want to say a big thank you, first of all, to Tim for coming back here and talking with
Yeah.
me
Thank you for
and
having me.
sharing all this insight. It's just been so, so good. A huge thank you to everyone that's been watching the video as well. I will again make sure that you have the original part 1 linked in the description and also to the top of this video in the top corner. And yeah, what I will say is make sure you go and give Project O a follow, go and give Coin Games a follow. I'll link their socials and all of their pages so you can really follow all the action. From the sounds of it, you don't want to miss anything because they
Yeah.
are really cooking over there. And yeah, you know, who knows in the future, we might try and get Tim back on again when there's been some more things that have
Yeah, I would
developed.
love to.
You might
Yeah,
be able
yeah.
to share more because it's always fun speaking with Tim, and I love that he was always coming on and showing us his extra collectibles. He might have he might have a really cool Star Wars collectible that he'd have got. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Of
honestly, thank you so much, Tim. Thank you to everyone
course.
that's
Thank you for
watched,
having me.
and yeah, watch out for the next episode that I do on this channel. We'll see you then. Thank you.